Welcome, Deep Thinkers. Welcome to the next episode of Deep Thinker Society. Today we have Shannon Pereira with us. How are you doing, Shannon?
I am fabulous. How are you?
Great. You must be fabulous because you're traveling right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty lucky in Thailand here. But yeah, really
Oh,
appreciate being
beautiful.
with you today.
Well, thank you for joining me. We always have really good conversations, so I'm super excited to see where the conversation goes today. I do know that you are passionate about mushrooms and what they can do for humanity and the consciousness of mushrooms. And I thought maybe you could share your passion with us today.
I would love to. I do love mushrooms. I find myself talking about them with strangers or in conversations all the time, and that's how you kind of know that something's just exuding from your. Let's talk about mushrooms. This person could be helped by mushrooms. They kind of found me actually in 2019, 2020, during the zombie apocalypse of the world. I got repatriated back to Canada. I was in India at the time, just doing some yoga teacher training. Stuck in my parents' basement in quarantine for 2 weeks. A friend was starting this company, and he was doing a 7-week research study on microdosing with psilocybin and with lion's mane. And he's like, "Do you want to be a part of it?" I'm like, "Yes, I do. Like, this is the greatest opportunity. I'm in the basement. I've got time to think and contemplate and self-study. So let's do it." And everything changed after that. So obviously, as you do, you get stuck into research and learning and history. And they had created a microdosing guide with a lot of the history, and it really resonated. And I had been into a lot of plant medicines prior, with ayahuasca and DMT and cannabis, and just learning more about how those are not actually drugs that are harming us, but they're allowing us to think for ourselves and to open up our consciousness and to ask more questions than what this matrix appears to be. But really, when I got into mushrooms, and I've been microdosing since then, you see the changes. And with microdosing psilocybin, you really do see an evolution, and you should be journaling, I think, so that you can actually check your progress. And I think for a lot of people that have more that they want to change within themselves, they can see more of an effect. Like, for an example, if somebody is, suffering from anxiety, PTSD, depression, and they begin to microdose to overcome that, psilocybin or psilocin within the mushrooms actually mimics the serotonin receptor. Like, it bonds to 5-HT2A serotonin receptor and mimics that, but times 100. So they can really see a difference than taking their SSRIs. And if you're not really suffering for something like anxiety or depression, it works another angle that's unique to you. Like, they're so intelligent that they go in and work with what you need. So let's say it's more creativity, or it's more focus, or it's more drive, or it's more spiritual insight, or it's deeper connection to self, or deeper connection to other, which same thing. So when I really just started having an intentional conversation and communication connection with these powerful, powerful teachers, life changes.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
Mine wasn't too long after yours when I started it as well. And I microdosed before ayahuasca, but I think the mushroom said, "Here, let's take a different path," and guided me there. And I'm such a different, I still feel as though I'm integrating a lot and in everything in its own time. And I think ultimately it brought me to a place of mindfulness
Yeah.
and somewhat slowing down, still working on that, but slowing down to the point where at least I'm conscious of what's going on in my mind.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we lack in this world is we're just kind of like automatic mode.
Yeah. I know, well, we do what we are programmed to do. So until you kind of can rise a little bit above your own bullshit, if I can say that, we get stuck. And I do it all the time. You can't see the forest for the trees until you slow down, until you take that look from a little higher perspective. It's still you, but like, oh, okay. This doesn't need to bother me so much. This doesn't need to trigger me so much. That doesn't need to be such a source of irritation. I'm constantly traveling, and I love my partner, but we're together 24/7. But I can see little bits where, like, I didn't need to be angry about that, or I didn't need to be triggered about that. But it does take that little bit of self-reflection, and I think the medicines really help with that. And not even just with psilocybin, but have you heard of Amanita muscaria? Yeah.
I have not. I haven't experienced it, but I have heard great
Yeah.
things.
And everybody's seen the emoji. It's the emoji of a mushroom in our phones, and
Yeah.
it's the toadstool from Mario Brothers. But that is another very powerful medicine to microdose also.
Yeah, I've heard through studies the history of it that it had always been misconceived, or maybe not, but that was where the deadliness of mushrooms came from, was from the Amanita, and really it was the most powerful. But maybe it's about intention, or maybe it's about, it being invited into your life, as opposed to, or I don't know. There's a lot of different perspectives, I'm sure.
Well, it's very dangerous for our bodies if it's not cooked or heated, because it's raw. It's got ibotenic acid in, which are will just harm us immediately. It's highly, highly toxic. But when it's dried, decarboxylated, and heated, then you can consume it, and that ibotenic acid is converted to mucimol, which the body can process better. So it was just about processing it, and how they used to have it in, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, was the reindeer would eat it, and
Oh,
they would
yes.
look like they were flying, they were prancing around, and then the reindeer's bodies would convert the ibotenic acid to mucimol, and they would urinate it out, and the shamanic type practitioners, the medicine men, and even everyday people would drink the urine of the reindeer, and that would give them elated euphoria. They would often feel like they could connect to spirit world. They could feel like interdimensionally tripping, but kind of timelines, a quantum shift, and also sleeping better. They used it for aches and pains and for so many things, as natural medicine is supposed to be. But it's had a very
Yeah,
interesting
and
journey.
you said it too, natural medicine. And when we look back in our history, our history that we know as a society is very minimal.
Mm-hmm.
And this earth plane has been around for a really long time, and
Yeah.
nature's been around much longer than any of us can fathom. And so when I think about, well, my form of study lately has been consciousness and shamanism, and when I had my ayahuasca ceremony, my very last one, they were like, stop doing all this healing work. Like, you just stop. Like, you're on
Integrate.
a new path. Yeah, you're on a new path. And they said shamanism, but I had a really challenging time with that. And it was because of my very narrow perspective on what shamanism is. And I always imagined a very cultural, wise person from, a close knit community all across the globe, with all the different cultures. But hearing about their journeys and thinking that they could do that at will and just
Mm-hmm.
do that on their own or whatnot. But when you really look deeper into it, they often used and smoked various substances from the earth, or ate substances, or drank teas from the earth, and that is how they did their journeying, and that is how they got their wisdom, and brought it back to their tribe and their people. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
civilizations, have made decisions and ruled, from these wise, conscious altering
Mm-hmm.
substances from our planet. But yet we live in a society, again, such a short period of time, where it's condemned, but it's a part of the natural world. It's like
Yeah.
something we should be using to evolve as a species.
It's so funny to actually think about, these have been around for, since we can't trace back a time where they didn't exist. And they, psilocybin mushrooms come from cow dung. Cows are revered around the world, especially in India for bearing this. There's images of mushrooms being held in caves in you know thousands and thousands of years. We can't even trace back how long. And then I think what Nixon administration in the 1970 with the Controlled Substance Act said, like, no, this is as now a Schedule One drug, and a Schedule One drug means it's highly addictive and has no medicinal value, which we know both of those are false. Highly addictive, it's impossible, because it won't have the same benefits if it is, and you will stop. Mushrooms are so intelligent. If you are abusing them or not, you're having them repetitiously for a high, they're not going to work. You build up a tolerance and then you have to stop taking them. It's protocol to stop taking them so that you can build your tolerance up. And medicinal value, they have irreplaceable medicinal value. And that is one of the major benefits of microdosing and macrodosing journeys with the right intention is you can overcome other addictions. So it's laughable. And society knows this. If anybody actually looks into the research, the limited research that there is, they won't put more funding into better, bigger research because then we don't need big pharma and they can't have that. So,
They will lose control of humanity because
yeah,
before they know it, everybody's going to be thinking completely for themselves. And
that's it.
yeah,
Then we're not governable, and they can't have that. So, I mean, people that are getting aware and more aware of this, yes, it's in underground circles, but it's really not. People are banding together and just, we're having it. We're having it. Deal with it. And I think that's the mushrooms, they call it, the psychedelic renaissance, but we're in full swing. It's already back. They cannot be suppressed. It just is.
no, there's no way.
Yeah.
There's no way they'll go away at this point.
Well, and a government can't patent that part of nature that just grows where it will. That they can't patent a spore that has a billion spores and goes off and does what it wants. But one of the cool things that I really see happening in the future is, people are getting accredited to have, a psychedelic trip sitter or to just whatever the way it's happening. The more people that kind of consume the mushrooms are feeling, I feel it. I'm speaking on behalf of the mushrooms. I
Oh
sometimes
yeah,
feel
because
like
they're
I'm a
consciousness.
mushroom now, and I'm talking
Yeah.
about how good we are, how much we
No,
can help.
it's true because we channel their energy. They become a part of us. And when they grow within, I mean, they're the floor of the planet. Like
For
they're
sure.
under everything. And
Yeah.
if we're going to ingest them, they're going to be within us as well.
And I really think, and I've had some deeper I know we've talked about channeling, and you did some channeling for me actually, but in a few sessions with Amanita, I was kind of being shown like the decompositioning of like organic matter goes into the ground and it's consumed by fungus, by mushrooms, and returns back to the earth, and then that is transformed into new life, into something else. And I was kind of being shown of like, you think you haven't gone into the ground and become us? You think we don't have, like, you don't think we're not you also? Like, this is a circle, a cycle, and you think we haven't been each other? Like, I am you and you are this, and everything is everything, and that mycelial network underneath the ground that's telling one tree, hey, I need water, and that mycelium brings the water from itself to another tree. Like, you cannot deny the interconnectedness of all things when the consciousness of these mushrooms are speaking not just to you but through you and with you, and it's so supportive.
You said everything I learned really early on and didn't understand when I was young. I took Reiki and I was in like some meditation class. I was young. I was in my early 20s and I started channeling, and that's where, I realized I was such an open channel back then. And I would channel right, and it would come through, and it would always say, when I would try to ask who I was channeling, it would always say ALL,
Mm,
all, and I
cool.
didn't get it. And even throughout the years, I didn't get it until much later. And I was like, well, it makes sense. Oneness, we're all one. But as I've delved into consciousness and understanding of like, we're just a spark of awareness of the collective, like
Mm-hmm.
all, all. That's what's happening with the mushrooms are just much more connected to us,
Yeah.
on an earthly type of way, for us to tap in easier, I think. And they're explaining that, that is it. We are. And you said everything you said is exactly what channeling is. And so people who have passed over and like had near death experiences and then came back to share often say that they would see a group of people and they would see all their faces and they knew all of them, but yet they couldn't necessarily place their name, but yet they also knew that they had been them.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's so interesting. So they felt like they had been them because were so interconnected, and we're wired to work like the mushrooms in the sense that they could connect with us without even being near or around us. But we could do that as well with other humans. We just haven't tapped into that skill
Yeah.
yet. But we could share consciousness. I mean, people talk all the time about walk-ins or
Hmm.
about sharing the body with another soul, and stuff like that. So eventually, as we maybe allow the mushrooms to teach us, we'll learn more about how multidimensional and limitless we are.
Yeah.
Um,
It's funny,
and
I'm
learn
sitting on a
to.
mat that says limitless right now. I love that you said that. And I really do believe that we're just reminding ourselves, because we do have all of this, through the greater consciousness, and through the all, we've been everything, we've done everything, but we have to play the game, and the game means we have to forget, so that we can have that beautiful moment of the realization, making it real again, remembering, putting it back together. And it's just going to take, it's the game, it's why we're here.
The game is the word, and as I'm learning and understanding like reality, this reality, so to speak, and like time and space and all that. The fact that we can, at will, even though we don't, but at will, we could leave this consciousness and put our awareness somewhere else. And when we do that, we can leave this reality. So if we can do that, then that means we have access to what we don't remember here and now.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime, if we believe it, first of all, then so be it. And so even if we were to use meditation and we were to guide ourselves to a magical room where there's books full of knowledge and we want to know something, if we're open 100% to receive the information, we go in there to be guided to, we could gain that knowledge which we don't know in the here and now, but we can bring it back to the here and now. And therefore, I mean, we truly are making this what it is,
Mm-hmm.
and so if we're going to make it what it is, then we need to start utilizing our limitlessness, because like there's so much. It's exciting. It's a game.
Yeah.
It's just to know that we are only in our own prison, like
Yeah.
when we can't achieve something, it's because we put it there.
I love how little things that what we're talking about now have come up in the last couple of days, like just, and that's how things work. Synchronicities
Confirmation.
are yeah, confirmations are there to remind you of, like, you wanted to delve into this a little bit deeper. But my partner and I had lunch the other day with an old friend of his, and he's, quite older, maybe 30, 40 years older than us. And he was sharing this song, and I've never heard it before, but he was talking about how there's a prison that we're in, and you can't really see it all the time. You just see it when something kind of scares you outside of it, and really is. We're probably leaving mushrooms here, but I know that's fine with you. The Bashar is a channeler we've spoke of a lot,
Yeah.
but he calls us the masters of limitation, because we really are, and that's our perception. That's what we perceive. It's our filters. It's what we've been taught, but it is just so hard for us, and we feel like it, maybe because I'm saying it, I'm making it so, that's true, to overcome these three-dimensional heavier guides sometimes.
It's like you said, though, it's like it's a game in the sense that we chose to you know choose a challenging one at that.
Mm-hmm.
But when we level up, like in a game, a video game, you die and you come back, you die and you come back, you die and you come. But every time you come back, you've learned what not to do from the time before. And if
Yeah.
you don't, then you die again, right? So when you finally get those ahas, or you find those magical things hidden in the game, you level up, and I feel like that's really what's just happening here. Is we're just here to experience. Like nothing, technically nothing matters except for creation. And that was the big takeaway that led me to Wisdom Beyond Time, which I'm going to start recording this month. And it's because he went outside of time and space, and he leveled up, and brought that back. And that's what I feel like we need to learn, that this reality is, first of all, it is what we make of it, but we're not stuck here. Like
Mm-hmm.
we should be practicing creation. He passed away in a past life, the person I'm speaking of, and I've been trying to get him on as one of my guests for Wisdom Beyond Time. And he told about his whole story. He was also one of them that had seen the group of people, and had known them all, but knew that he also was them. But he said at the very end, he said, "But I saw the future."
Mm.
And he's like, and it gives me chills right now, even talking about it, because it was the thing that made the most sense to me. And he said, we go from consumerism to creation. He's
Mhm.
like, we will literally be a society of where consumerism doesn't even exist, and everything is creation. And that's kind of what the mushroom consciousness does. Is it triggers those creative parts of our brain that we've tuned out through the programming and the logical part of our brain that feels like we have to be in survival mode, and it
Yeah.
triggers all these creative neurons. And if we can be a domino effect for others out there to at least, if you feel mildly called to it, take that leap and move toward creation,
Yeah.
so that you can experience, like, now, even now, like when I deal with stress, or if I need to decompress, I catch myself going and laying in my bed and getting my notepad out, my sketchbook out, and just doing neural art, which is like
Oh,
just,
cool.
yeah, just
Connection.
it relaxes the brain, but at the same time, I can hear my thoughts and I become aware of them. But I'm creating while I'm rewiring my brain at the same time.
Love
So
it.
yeah, so I feel like that's the creation is the direction that you know we need to go.
I think it gets us there. And if you've got the anxiety symptoms or the depression, as we were talking about earlier, it helps you get through that, through to the creation side. And one thing I love about mushrooms is they are neuroregenerative. Like you can grow new neurons using mushrooms. They thought we stopped growing them as a child. That the science is all wrong, and we have to remember whatever science says is absolute is never absolute. There always has to be room
Yeah,
for new knowledge or old knowledge to be remembered. Lion's mane is just incredible. Neuroregenesis, and we didn't know that just years ago, even like 10 years ago. And in Asia, in traditional Chinese medicine, they've been aware of this for thousands of years. And I like what you said about, in the game you die and you come back. In the game you die, you come back. And I think this time, when you've been around before and just like, "Oh, this again," like you have some
yeah,
sort of feeling like that.
patterns.
Yeah, but I think, if you're picturing Mario, this time when I died and I came back, I got the mushroom. I got to, he eats the mushroom and he can
Yeah,
go faster, think more creatively, do more, be more efficiently. Okay, great. This time I came back, I got the mushroom. So I think that is what I'm so grateful for. You know, it's kind of tiresome sometimes. Well, that's a perspective how you're thinking of it, but to think of this unending loop of like I got to keep doing this. No, you get to keep doing this, but
you get to. Yeah,
as we shift and evolve our consciousness, it becomes more of this enjoyable, passion filled. I get to travel all the time. I get to have great conversations that other people are, sitting at their work desk right now. We're talking about mushrooms and consciousness, and that's joyful. The mushrooms have brought me there. Mushrooms have brought you here.
and you have a podcast as well, Power
Power
Perspectives. Is that right?
perspectives, I do. I'm just taking a break at the moment because the time zones have been
Well,
really
yeah,
tricky.
but that alone really is where it's always at. It's perspective. If
Yeah.
And I feel like if people can realize that, and this is something I talk about often, that if you don't like anything,
Mm-hmm.
all you literally have to do is just overcome your perspective and try to choose a different one, or try to look from a different one. Or I mean, because we we're so that is a point of limitless, that
Yeah.
I mean of limited. We're limited when we only see our perspective, but we become limitless when we realize that there's 360 degrees and then some of a perspective
Yeah.
that could change your life, if you
Yes.
just looked at it differently.
I spend a lot of time thinking about perspectives. The same as, you're saying unconsciousness. I think about these two so interconnectedly, but often. And I'm writing a talk and a book that's forever being written, but on perspective. And I really do believe that your superpower is your ability to shift and evolve your perspective. And constantly, this meme I saw like very long ago, it just always sits with me, especially when something triggers me. So it's like you and I are facing each other, draw a 6 in front of you, and to me, I'm going to see a 9. And the 6 I've drawn, you're going to see a 9. And we can argue about what that is, but unless we see it from each other's perspectives, we're both going to be wrong and we're both going to be right. So it just depends on how you want to find your balance of understanding another is compassion, is empathy, is challenging yourself to go outside of yourself and see yourself from another's perspective, and then vice versa. And then you really do connect, like that network of there's
Yeah.
just one of us. Why did I put this in my way? Why did I give this gift to myself today of someone cutting me off in traffic or getting that finger from, whatever your day looks like? I wanted to see myself from another angle and either see, did I grow or learn from a lesson that I put in my path, or am I meant to kind of work on this thing that's bothering or triggering? So I think perspective shifting and really considering it is just such a powerful way to continue to evolve.
Oh yeah. You made me think when I was younger, when I first started to learn about, like hypnosis and the power of the brain and whatnot. A friend of mine was going to school to be a hypnotherapist. So one night a week he'd have us over and he'd hypnotize the group and
Cool.
whatnot. And I learned so much about that and the power of the brain and how to relax. Like to this day, it doesn't take me much to relax. But his fiance, which was a really good friend of mine, we were hanging out one day, and I was trying to get deep because I was like, have you ever wondered, like, if I eat a strawberry and you eat a strawberry, but I was inside of you and tasted the strawberry and you were me and you tasted the strawberry, if it would be the same?
Yeah.
Or if a color red looks like red, if I looked at it from your perspective, like, and she either didn't get it or she was messing with me because she couldn't grasp it. And I was just like, I think you're messing with me because I know I'm really good at communicating, but even now it fascinates me to wonder if I happen to experience myself through another, would it look and through another in the sense that I can see it through their senses and not my senses,
Yeah.
but still remember my senses because I don't want to go in and experience it and have my memory. So that there's so much depth there, and it makes me wonder if I don't know if it's possible or not, but I would really love to like look at the world through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah. And that's the beautiful thing, right? It's the divine dichotomy. You cannot and you always are at the same time. You know what I mean? Like as fixated as one perspective, you can't. You can try, you can do your best to look in each other's mirrors, and then at the same time as well, you're everything all at once all the time. So I
Yeah.
love I love that what you said was fascinating about like you wonder that. Of course you do. She must be messing with you. You wonder that as a kid and growing up, like, well, what does this taste like a banana to you? What does it, why do I hate coriander, cilantro, and my mom loves it? Why is there this? So we have to be tasting something similar, but still it sends a different input signal to what I like and what you don't like and vice versa. But I did have kind of a huge awakening about that in, I think, it was a few psychedelic experiences, but also one that wasn't a psychedelic experience. It was like a pain point, experiencing a lot of pain by deliberately pushing on pressure points. And I had these feelings and I could kind of see myself, and I wasn't Shannon. I wasn't my body. I wasn't my skin. Once I was a dragon, once I was a lady that was blonde and not me, but I was still my consciousness. And it was like, who the hell is this? Oh, but it's me in here. But do you know what I mean? And so that was kind of what we were talking about with well, if I could go inside of another and experience what they're experiencing, am I still me? Well, yeah and no.
But that's what we do when we lucid dream
Yeah.
or we dream in general. I do not. I rarely dream of people I know, and if I do dream of people I know, a lot of times it doesn't look like them. And so when I really believe that when I'm in that state of consciousness, I'm just, my awareness is just awake in a different reality, and maybe multiple realities.
I
And
think
even
so.
like right when I go to sleep, like I catch it. Like I'm not all the way, I am aware of my body being my bed,
Yeah.
and I catch myself like when you scan through the channels and they're all the different things that are just passing by quickly, that
Yeah.
happens as I catch it happening, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I'm ready to go. Let's go.
That's so fascinating. And I recently was speaking with a lucid dream expert, and I mean, he's had some incredible, crazy experiences, but lucid dreaming and asking the characters, what do you represent? Instead of, trying to like, okay, there's a boogeyman there and there's a California raisin singing at me over here. Instead of talking to them directly, he would just ask kind of a greater awareness, like, what do these represent? And the answer would come, and he would figure out, you have to journal, he'd figure out what that meant from his subconscious to his conscious, and where in his day or his week or his life that was showing up again and why. And you start to do things like that, and all of a sudden these way deeper answers are coming. And he was able to, I've been able to do it a couple times, but like in the dream, become lucid and then meditate in the dream, and then meditate in your meditation, you're kind of channeling. And when you do it dreaming, I don't, you've probably experienced it. It's just, and it's almost a cellular knowing where it's way faster. It's deeper, and you can't come back with words for it really.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Like not coming back with words. I
Yeah.
feel like I'm so at peace when I sleep, and I mean this genuinely. I am so relaxed and at peace when I sleep, and I go willingly. It's almost like how it is comes natural when I channel.
Mm.
How it just becomes, it's just a part of me that when I sleep and I go to all these different places, I don't have the desire to need to be awake or remember this particular body.
Yeah.
That I don't have that need or desire to want to control it. I'm literally just, as we're saying, I'm aware within a, a body, and I don't even always know if it's, like this body, but I'm aware within it and think of it as me. And and I'm experiencing whatever that storyline is happening. And then, people say, but it was so weird how it went from here to there to there. And I was like, well, maybe it's because, you're just switching channels so quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and we do that in reality. Like we shift our timelines all the time, and we don't even realize it unless we
Yeah.
catch it, unless we're mindful enough to catch a small nuisance or a memory, or
Yeah.
and I didn't know the other day, somebody, I know you've heard of the Mandela effect, and
Yeah.
somebody the other day had something similar to me, and I was saying how I thought I was crazy, or I just didn't learn in school, but I grew up being that there was 52 states.
Are there not?
Well, 50 states. Well, there's 50 states, right?
And then Alaska and Hawaii, right? I'm Canadian. We didn't go through
Yeah,
all
but
of the.
some people grew up with 48 states. Anyways, it I know, right? And 50 states, and 52 states, and people grew up with these different memories, and people are so like, no, I know, and that's exactly, people are messing with us, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's I've caught little ones, like just like a color of something, and I sing it every time I pass it, and then I pass it, and then it's a different color,
Yeah.
another time, and I'm like, oh, things changed,
The Berenstein Bears was a big one for me because I'm like, no, I know in the dentist's office, this was Berenstein Bears. I watched a guy, I don't know how, if it was CGI or made up or something, manipulated, but he was in a room, grabbed the old book and it said Berenstein Bears and he was filming it. And then as he filmed it, it changed to Berenstain.
Oh, I've seen that.
And I
Yeah.
mean, okay, cool. Whether that's manipulation or not, it's still questionable because we all have these different memories. And okay, so we converged or jumped or moved, changed timelines.
It came back, and
Bashar
back
says
and
it's
forth.
like yeah, and like billions of times per second. He's saying it's just so quick that you don't notice it, and you're still choosing the channel that you're on, but you're shifting billions of times per second. So it is hard to be aware of one thing when it's moving so quickly, but we do. We catch it.
anytime we change our perspective, we shift. Anytime we make a decision, we shift, and we can choose the same ones over and over, or just go in automatic mode and never experience the like awesomeness that that we live in, that we're blessed to be a part of, or we can just go with the flow and stay comfortable and cozy and fast asleep. You
Hmm.
know,
And I
yeah.
do wonder about that sometimes. Is it next time you're always going to be coming back more evolved? But what does that mean? It doesn't mean you're smarter, faster, stronger, whatever. It can also mean that you have bigger issues to deal with. Maybe you have a disability or a handicap or a blindness or whatever. It doesn't mean you're going to be what this version of you thinks is a better version. It means whatever you whatever theme you want to work with to overcome or to add as your personal education and all of
When
whatever
we
life
level
is.
up,
That's it. Leveling up is the best
when we
projection.
level up, we get bigger challenges every time in the games.
Sometimes that it does, if I'm honest, like I feel it in my body. Like I think just when you can, things that are happening outside of us that, I mean, there's some chaotic things happening in the world right now, but I think for every generation that's been born, they think this is the doomsday, this is the end, this is the worst thing. Oh my God, these kids
But it,
today are
it might be
crazy.
the end, just the end as you knew it.
Yes, like cocoon, the
Yeah.
caterpillar's gone into. So I like that you said what that man saw in the future. Consumerism gone, and we're just able to create and to help one another and to, what do you need? Okay, create it. And there's no lack, there's no limitation.
I went really deep with that one when I thought, okay, well, if we were like to magically get rid of consumerism right in this here and now moment, right? It would be so life altering and mind altering and perspective altering because we do it without even realizing we do it.
Yeah,
So, for example, when we want something, we feel we have to work hard for it or
yeah,
do things that we don't enjoy for it.
yeah,
For me, my challenge that I'm working through is I cannot stand in any way, shape, or form the energy of sales
right.
or marketing
Yeah,
or like pushing something on somebody because I believe that if they want it, they'll come get it.
yeah,
It's there if they want it. And I don't like it when people do it to me. And so my challenge is living in a society where everybody's out there, you know, working and getting in there and, doing all this. Like I heard a podcast the other day where they're like, well, if you have your own business and you're not working 24 hours a day, every
yeah,
day, then you're not going to get it. You're just not. And I'm
yeah.
like, it doesn't that's consumer, or even when it comes to our pleasures.
Hmm.
Like, why do we have to consume a tasteful drink? Or why do we have to, why do we have to consume? Like, we do it as a society when we're together. Like, we want to consume and enjoy tasty foods. We need to consume. And then even in conversation, I want to consume more conversation. Like, why do we need to consume so much? Like, it's a big topic.
You just gave me a great reminder that we're due for a fast soon. And the thoughts that I have when I'm fasting after the first like hunger pangs go away, I'm like, okay, I like to be hungry. I like to be empty. I like to feel like I don't need to go get something to sustain who and what I am, and you're speaking of consumerism in that way. What are we then? We're not constantly people going to get something, we can just be. And that was ticking the box of what this life was achieved the moment we were born. Like, okay, you came here to be. That was, you've done it. You don't have to, like I used to subscribe, you're talking about sales. I used to subscribe to, be the first one in and last one out and hustle culture. And it's so yucky now. I just want to like dust that off. It's never, that was always another marketing tool by whoever, wanted us to sit at our desks more and be fixated and consumed by our devices and a need to be better than our neighbors and blah, blah, blah. And competition was always the number one driver in sales. I worked in sales, and it was like, that doesn't feel right. And even reading books like Dr. Bruce Lipton and how he talks about the evolution of cells, they only evolved by working together. It was never a survival of the fittest. It was a survival happened best when the community worked together, and that's how they could evolve when they weren't in states of constant survival.
We aren't meant to live in a rat race.
No, I mean, that's by design. And that is, to me now, it's such an obvious design. And when we don't watch in news, and I rarely am up to date with current events, and some people might say that that's, um, blindness and not being aware. But I also, there's a degree of mental health that comes into that. I don't want to be a part of that. So when I do see something, like, what the hell? Like, is this a comedy? Is this a movie that somebody's written? And it looks like it's been designed. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, it goes back to the saying, if a tree falls in the forest, did it really happen? And so if, and ignorance is bliss, as well as, the fact that energy goes where attention goes where energy flows. So where we put our attention is the energy. And so, like, I tell people all the time when they're upset about something, or when something happens to somebody in their life, like maybe somebody passed away or something terrible happened to somebody, I tell them, don't send worry to them. Like, don't worry for them, send them, love and motivation and inspiration and compassion. Don't send fear when a tragedy strikes,
Yeah.
they're revitalizing energy.
That's so great. Like, I remember not telling my parents some stuff that just was happening with me health wise. And I told them after the fact and when I was healed and better, because I know that that's my mother's programming, is just worry, worry, worry. And I didn't want to do that to her mental health either, but I didn't want that projection, that energy coming to me. So 100%. And, I've really seen, especially with the use of psychedelics, and you can see it live more when you're having a larger dose of, say, ayahuasca, was what you focus on, you create. Where whatever door you're opening, you're going to go through that door, and the opening of the door is your energetic focus. That's what you create reality with. So why would I open a door I don't want to see what's behind? Why would I do that? And I love Abraham Hicks has this, like, well, I'm not saying to put a happy face sticker over your empty gas gauge. What I am saying is to just be so mindful of how you feel when you see something that you wouldn't normally like, to not dig a hole for yourself, so to say. But what you really want to do then is look at the opposite. What do you want? I love George Carlin has something like, fighting for peace is like screwing for virginity. Like, why would we do that? So of course, but it makes so much sense. And that's a great way to see it, is like, oh, I can't hurt someone that hurt someone to fix it. I can't do the same thing and expect a different energetic response.
Earlier when you said something, I want to circle back to what you said, because I just remembered you had said that things sometimes have to scare us awake, and sometimes we like the feeling of being scared, or like shocked or something of that nature, or it gives like an adrenaline or a thrill or something. And then you look back to like kids who want to watch horror movies, or they want to be like scared, or things of the unknown, like you sit around campfires and talk about ghost stories and stuff like that. And I wonder, like, what is that thrill? Like, is it because we're on a search for knowledge, and so when it scares us, we wonder, is that true? Does that really happen? Like, are we questioning reality when it makes us feel so intensely? Or, you know what I mean?
I do wonder this, and I really wonder it because my partner and his family are Halloween people. They're Halloween junkies. And I was like, I don't want to watch horror movies. I didn't want to be a downer. We were visiting twice in Florida during Halloween. I was like, I don't want to be the sky, but like, I'm going to go in the room and watch something else. But I wondered, okay, what is their love of it? I think when you really can, for me, I will dream about whatever I've ingested that like previously. So I'm like, I don't want to bring this to my dream life and then have those actual feelings while I'm sleeping and wake up and be scared. So what is their enjoyment? It's because they deeply know that it's not real and they enjoy the feeling of adrenaline rush. I enjoy adrenaline rush. Everybody does, but in their own way. So some people do love to go on the scary rides. I don't need that. But other people, it's so fun for them. So I had to see this, like reframe it to like, okay, what's fun for me isn't fun for everybody and vice versa. And just accept it. Like I've got to sometimes go on a ride with my partner I don't want to, or go to a Halloween extravaganza that I don't want to, but through seeing it through his eyes of enjoyment and like a child, I'm like, okay, this is cute. I can reframe it to myself of like, but what scares you now isn't a jack in the box. It's some creative thing that some actors have put together, and that's good too. So
Yeah,
again,
I
perspective
loved it
shift.
as a kid. As an adult, it takes a lot for me to watch blood and guts and gore. I just
No, can't do it.
my daughter to see the movie The Crow, and I guess it's like a remake of an original, and she
Right.
really loved it. But there was so many times where I just was like covering my eyes and looking the other way, and not only that,
Yeah.
it be such a hard time. I think it has something to do with like just being so empathic because I literally, I guess the way I look at like movies and things and even reading books or anything you put yourself into is similar to what we do when we channel or when we're compassionate for others or with that empathy. And so I cry so easy with like Sappy. She came in
Yeah.
yesterday and she told me something funny and she's like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, "The man's wife died." She's like, "Oh yeah, I guess that really is sad."
I
But
can relate to this so much. But I don't want to make myself stronger about that. I like being quick to cry. I cry in like just very simple things. And like, no, don't tell anyone. But it's still who we are. And I can't watch blood and gore, especially when if you try to we're in different countries. We were just in Europe for 2 months and now we're in Thailand. And before that, we were in Canada, trying to go around on a TV just for fun and not see something with guns in it. Haven't accomplished this. I haven't accomplished being able to go through one cycle of flicking channels and get through without guns. And I just like in reading Conversations with God, I think the third book, he's just the author Neil Donald Walsh just channeling, talking to God, whether you believe that or not. Just the messages are so wonderful. But one of the messages that God he's channeling says is like, if you want to gauge by a yardstick like how well your society is doing, like ask what would it be like if everybody was doing that, and also what do you find entertaining, and what we find entertaining is still horrific, to watch violence. And kids want to watch this at this young age. It's not.
like people that get hurt, they laugh at it, like in those funny videos that they get hurt, and then
Yeah,
everybody's laughing. I can't. I was like, I don't.
yeah.
I'm not. That's not funny.
And it's indicative of like where we're at as a society, where we're at as a culture. And it's like we're still in kindergarten compared to what is possible and what is potentially out there, like what
I didn't
higher
even know
evolved
we're in
beings are living.
kindergarten.
Yeah, pre-K. And but by design, and if we can just see the design and then use our own that feels more aligned, feels more loving, feels higher, feels more vibrationally connected, is what you would actually act like if you knew that you were the only being here, just as little different infinite individuations. You wouldn't steal from your person. You wouldn't cheat or lie, or like, why would you do that to yourself? You wouldn't. So it's just that constant checking in and rechecking of like, okay, this is another me, you're another me. How can I see this thing that's triggering me as a stepping stool to move up, to
Yeah.
level up?
And again, it goes back to what we said earlier. Energy flows where attention goes, and if
Yeah,
we, don't give it our energy, then
yeah,
we are able to vibrate a little bit higher.
yeah. Memes have really helped me understand deep things, but one meme I read that's really stuck with me is, if you don't like something, take away its only power, your attention. And that's kind of fueled my lifestyle. And a lot of people, well, I only really hang out with my partner while we're traveling, but people might hear that and just say like, well, yeah, ignorance is bliss. But if you want to create your experience, and why would you want to create terror, and you're just amplifying it. And I feel like some people are here to be the space holders of the intention that we say we want so that we can vibrate that. And some people are here to be the
The opposite.
frontline workers and the like, well, martyrs or people that are hurt, so that we have that on the spectrum. We need everything, every perspective is so important that all can't be without the one, you know? So all of it is valuable.
Well, when you look at a piece of art, and the depth of it and the multitude of it and all the different aspects of a piece of art, there are parts of it that you don't necessarily feel drawn to, but there's parts of it that are just so beautiful. But when it's all together in one, it makes it grand and beautiful
Yeah.
as a whole. And some
Yeah.
parts are dark and some parts are vibrant. And,
Yeah.
it's like we are just a convoluted piece of art in this world.
Yes. I love thinking of like a mosaic. Like in Canada, we say when people from all cultures of the world come here, you join the mosaic. You keep your own individual tile, but if you're part of the bigger picture. And I know in America, it's like the melting pot. You know, you bring your flavor and it contributes to the taste of the whole. So yeah, I think applying that to just when you don't feel special, it's still like, well, without you, all that is cannot be all that is. So,
Yeah.
and no one else can have your perspective.
That's something that is still I still work through in a sense because in numerology I have a 33/6 and I love the 6, but the 33 is the master number. But if you're going to be a master, you're going to have your own unique challenges.
Yeah.
And for me, and 3 is creativity. So
Yeah.
having that all that creativity and that communication, right? But when you have that, you also want to be like the most perfect. Like you want it to be perfect, and you compare yourself to what other things that you might think are beautiful or perfect or like, and so I catch myself. I didn't know this about myself until later in life, but I catch myself, especially now, even stage that I'm in, comparing because I want to succeed. Like I want to achieve, I want to do better. And I catch myself comparing myself to, but then if I allow myself to shift my perspective, I remember how we were talking about salespeople earlier. And so I've been looking a lot lately at the people that are quote unquote successful. Well, what life do they have to live to be that? I don't want to be that. I wish that I could do the creating part like that. But if it means I have to do it under the conditions they did to get there, I don't want that. So it makes me question, how do I get to that place of success? And the only way to do
Oh,
it is to just be 100% my own authentic self and just and not compare myself to the others because I'll get there just by being me.
well, you know, you have your own answer. Like you have the answer already. And I mean, what you're talking about is some things I've really contemplated a lot. I was in sales for, I think, 6 years, and my partner was for 15 years. And now we're just living this nomadic, like, fuck everything kind of lifestyle. And just um, the the balance really helps with everything. And that shifting of perspective is like, is you said, well, if I have to do this, then I don't want it. But it's not a if and then, it's a this and that. And I had to really come to the part of like, well, if people are, you know, you shared with me you're going to a presentation for your holiday, and that's the kind of work that we did before, both of us.
Yeah.
And I'll share with you some tips later when we're not on the recording, but there's some scammy things. And it just, I didn't associate with that. And neither did my partner, but you're on a cusp of, well, yes, you are, because you're still in the environment and you're still, you might know something and you're not speaking up about it. And through that process of self-discovery of like, well, what are my morals? What are my ethics? Who do I want to be? And if every moment could be your last, and if in every moment you're in a self-defining act, then I don't like that. I don't like that definition of me. So I have two choices. I can change it. I can learn to live with it. Those are my options. So change it is what I thought, or frame it in a way that is authentically satisfying. So when you're saying, well, I don't want to create from that way, that's a limit of creation. There's no limit of creation. And sometimes I'll talk to my partner, like, what do you want to do in the world? Like, what would you do if there's no limits? Like, oh, well, we could do this, but then we've got to have enough money for this. Like, no, you didn't hear me.
Yeah.
What do you want to do? There's no limits. And the worst thing is to put a limit on your imagination. That's the only thing that absolutely has no limits, but it's the thing that we create from imaging here creates it out here. That's the key. So don't put any limits there. And whenever I sit from a place with that empowerment, okay, now things start coming, and for me, they're not always in like a chunk of money form. They're in a connection. There's multiple forms of abundance. There are connections, there are gifts, there are opportunities, there's money, and there's trades. And all of those things can come and just be as powerful as you winning a lottery. People think it only has to come in this one kind of way, but really sit and think about what you want money for. It's not to have a bunch of pieces of paper or to have a digit that isn't even tangible in an account that you're never going to actually see. It's for a feeling. And usually that is for the feeling of security or for abundance. And those two things are state of being, right? So if your circumstances don't determine your state of being determine your circumstances, then we just keep working on that state of being. Holy shit, I'm abundant now. Now I feel secure and safe. I don't have to go out and prove it. And if you have to prove that you're safe and secure by like putting a fence around yourself, then you're the opposite of that. You don't have it if you have to prove that, then you're still seeking it and searching it. So I think, and checking in is really important. But I think really these three things have come in so handy, and I call it big energy. But it's B is balance. For me, that's kind of, we said the 6 and the 9, keeping on checking, like, is there a 6 I should be looking at while I see a 9? Is this E a 3? Like, what is, don't fully give a meaning to something arbitrarily without knowing how else it can be seen for myself. And the second thing is intention and big energy. So balance and intention. Intention's everything. Whatever you imagine, whatever anyone's imagined to be outside in the material world, it was an intention first. And to be intentional about something is just so much faster than to not know what you're doing or where you're going, and it's more in tune with yourself. And then the third one is gratitude. Obviously, it's the same signature as having it, to be grateful for it, but just embodying that big energy is taking so much more time away from sadness or distress or feelings of insecurity. Yeah, well, this could happen. So what? I could get hit by a car. I could get this, blah, 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 blah. Anything could happen badly. But why would I focus my attention there? Why wouldn't I focus on this green is stunning? That butterfly is beautiful. Like, you're heightening your vibration. When you heighten your vibration, you see differently.
Yeah.
You see higher. And then more things with the higher vibration are coming to you. It's not philosophy, as Einstein said, it's physics. It's vibrational attunement.
Yeah, and that's really what money is just an energy that you attune to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a thought as far as like not matching energy, but you said so much, and all, like, it was all good and I absorbed it all. It's like goodness gracious. It was it'll come back to me. It has to do with the way, the universe. Oh, yeah. So how you were being fluid. For me, I flow, so finally have it down where I flow really easily and I allow things to come to me, and it is the same type of energy as if you feel when you are channeling. It's almost like I'm in a constant channeling state. The same with like creating, like art. It's not ours. We channel the source, it's not our ego. It's not like our source, and it's just channeled through us, right? And even when the universe is channeling through me and I'm like right on time, or I get that confirmation of something I knew, it's like, oh yeah, I guess, it reminds me that I'm just right on right in tune. And then I get to these moments where I feel like I need to do something differently in order to make what I want happen. And but the universe always sends me messages and they're like, you don't have to do anything but trust. And
Yeah.
it goes to what you said about perspective. It's like because we limit our perspective on the way it needs to come. But if we stay in the flow, if we stay in that channeled state in tune with the universe, then the universe will bring it to us in maybe a creative way that we never even anticipated. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be, so like right now, this process of I started my mindful art business and I started the podcast, and more has been going out clearly than has been coming in. And I've been okay with it because my life has been very abundant and very colorful. But I'm at a stage where I feel like it's not balanced. And so I started thinking, what do I need to do? And then again, like I was telling you, I don't want to do it if it means that, and I don't want to do it if
Yeah.
it means that, right? And the universe still tells me just trust. And
Yeah.
because it might, excuse me, come in a way that I can't imagine. And if I stay
Yeah.
in the flow and know it'll be okay, it will.
Yes. I come back to Bashar a lot. I really love the teachings there, but he says, follow your highest excitement with zero expectation of the outcome, just trusting that excitement and following that will lead to whatever it is that is meant for you. And then follow your excitement from there and just keep following your excitement. And that's why we have those, innate navigational tools of excitement to tell you where to go. That's our map. And I think, you said earlier about comparison, it is really the thief of joy unless you're comparing like how you might be more blessed in something to really have that gratitude about it. But with social media and with Facebook and stuff, you see someone doing something in your field and they're like way more successful, way more followers. What I'm working on now, especially I am content creating for a mushroom company, and you have to look at the numbers. That's how a business works. But now I'm trying to look at it from a very you are me perspective of like, well, good for you. Like if I'm looking at another company that's succeeding with mushrooms, that's the mushrooms succeeding. Great, great. But however they can get out, as long as it's ethical and they're providing great information for people that can really be helpful. And I think that, I guess circling full back to where we started about mushroom consciousness, they're so guiding that they're only going to align with people that are spreading the messages with love and with the same reasons that the mushrooms do want to come back to us, is optimizing your health and helping us grow and evolve spiritually and feeling more interconnected. So I think as long as we can just embody what we say we want, or at least try as often in a day to remember what we want and say it to ourselves, reminder to act it out, it will come as habit, and then you become it. You are that thing.
Yeah, I think that, because you said habit and you'll become that thing. And I think, a lot of people that are listening to the podcast, they want to take the steps to, maybe microdose or maybe meditate or maybe learn tarot or maybe learn, something
Mm-hmm.
really unique because they've always had a calling, but it's just not me, or I just can't do it, or, whatever. But I feel like the pot like the podcasts coming to life, all these millions and millions of podcasts and all these options, and people are really enjoying listening to podcasts, and
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of good knowledge out there, whatever direction the universe brings to their awareness, whatever they need to know, right? But I feel like even when I'm not in my podcast, excuse me, planting seeds with my guests, to the listeners, I feel like when the right thing pops up on my screen, then I share it, and sometimes I want to hesitate because I know that there's people that might get triggered by it or might
Yeah.
take it the wrong way. And I was like, well, who am I to, when maybe that's exactly what they need in order to start going. And again, there goes that scare them into it kind of thing,
Yeah.
like,
And you're the messenger of what they needed to hear. And
yeah, and
yeah.
yeah, and like a catalyst for positive change. And I feel like just me because I'm still so close with so many people that I had in my life when I lived in California, and now I'm here in Arizona. That and it's been almost 20 years. That that move alone, me just picking up, selling everything, and moving to Arizona on my own. That move alone, and then seeing how my life changed so much in these 20 years. I really feel like that alone put trust in people that she just did it.
Yeah.
And she didn't, and she continues to just do it. And I
Yeah.
feel like that alone is enough to show authenticity, like to people. And hopefully my goal is to just be who I am and inspire people to feel comfortable being whatever it is they want to be. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't have to like it. Other
Yeah.
people don't have to like it. But if you like it and you're out there just being it, other people that are like it are going to gravitate towards it,
There's
And
so many people like yourself that are feeling like, is this right? Did I do it right? Should I have done it better? Should I do, like everyone is this way. But if you could see yourself from someone else's perspective that is just so blown away by the sheer willpower and empowerment and ability and independence, and that's very inspiring. And we forget that sometimes we're not just doing a thing for ourselves, we're also such a great example that it is inspiring for other people. And you forget that, oh, I can be an inspiration. We kind of forget that, and yet the mountain is moved and people are inspired that, oh, the mountain can be moved. I don't just have to think it's only for the super elite. Like, no, everyone is everyone.
yeah, anything is possible. It really is.
Hmm.
And anything, my ultimate goal really is to help people just become self aware and then start moving in the direction of being comfortable with who they are and being comfortable going in the direction of their authentic self. Like, even I myself, you know, catch myself being uncomfortable with myself when I know that the spotlight might be on me, or when I might not be doing something to my own standards, might not have anything to do with anybody else's standards. But that's the perspective sometimes we catch ourselves in. But ultimately, by me being transparent with my flaws and being transparent with just being myself, that's enough to, inspire somebody else. Just she's doing it, like, and
Yeah.
she doesn't care. You should just go be you too, and eventually there will be the domino effect, and more people will just be themselves.
Well, and I think because you're 33 as the master teacher, and I think teachers have this innate awareness that the syllabus has to be correct so that the message is received, so that the learners learn. And I think that that's a huge part of, I don't know if it's just like a master number thing or like that's the teacher. So it's not necessarily that you're feeling you have to be perfect. It's again that highly empathic version that's like, I have to pass the baton the best way so that I can, you know, do my job, do what I'm here for.
It's funny the
And
way
it's
you're saying it,
okay.
because it makes me think of talking with my daughter, and I always catch, since she was little, whenever I feel bad about being hard on her, I always find myself at the end telling her, "I just want to set you up for success. I'm not mad at you. As long as you're doing your best, I'm only telling you these things because you can't see them. I can see them, and I
Yeah.
just want to set you up for success." And that really how it is when I interact with people. It's like I just want to let them know it's okay to feel anything you feel. It's okay to be those things, because it ultimately, it's real. It's how it's human. The other day, my daughter has a new friend, and I went over their house, and the mom didn't want to come to the door. She's a
Mm,
stay-at-home mom, or she works from home. She's got 6 kids, and I
mm.
said, well, I'm not going to drop my child off unless I meet your mom.
Yeah.
Have your mom come. And she was like, "Oh, so sorry, I'm dressed like this and I look like this." And I'm like, "It's life. That's
Yeah.
fine. Nice to meet you." And I just needed her to know that it's okay. Like, you have
Yeah.
6 kids, you work from home. I don't expect you to come to the door all dolled up.
Yeah.
So it's just we need to just be more real with each other.
Yes. And then you drop the like we all have these same issues. Everything that I've felt, another person has felt. Everything another person has felt, I've felt too. We're not alone. And that just bridging those gaps, bridging those gaps, bridging those gaps, bridging these gaps, you are another me. It makes it so much easier to life. And then that's that thing about, community again. When you start being like, oh, I don't have to worry about my community. That's not a threat. Oh, then we can evolve. Then we can really move to the next issues that we can't get to because we're still fighting each other, you know?
Yeah, that was very well said. So you do work with mushrooms and they work through you, they speak through you, they're here today talking through you. So if there are people listening who do have the desire to work with them, how can they contact you or how could they go take that path? And is that
Awesome.
something for everybody or is it just limited to certain areas or how does that work?
So great questions. I believe that they're everywhere for a reason. And obviously, I'm not a doctor. I think people should consult their doctors if they have, different issues, especially if they're on SSRIs, and just consulting with your doctor, like, listen, I want to get off this and I want to take the steps to wean myself off in the best healthy way that works for me. But just become educated. You're only going to become comfortable with something if you're educated about it, if you know more about it. And the best things to do right now, there's some great research that's coming out because now psychedelics are a lot more, with the work of MAPS, Rick Doblin, with the work of Michael Pollan, with the work of Paul Stamets, are becoming much more mainstream because of anecdotal evidence. And there are some scientific studies, there's a lot, but it's not the same way as we talked earlier, like the pharmaceuticals have. So for more information, like, contact me. I can give you my handle as on Instagram is at 3 Good Deeds a Day, but I'll text it to you also. And the company I work for is called Mindful Meds, and it's a Canadian company, but we're expanding into Australia. I'm going to be heading that up, and they can ship to Australia and America. But just message. We share information. The website is meds.io. Or you can use my code. Perspective is my code. If you go to Mindful Meds and you wanted to just, if you read or you already know some things about mushrooms and you wanted to make any kind of purchase, Perspective, you can use that code at the cart for 15% off. But this isn't a shameless plug. It really is amazing because what they do at this company. The reason I work for them is because I was such a super fan that they're like, why don't I get paid for doing this? So um, they use screening technology to make sure that there's no heavy metals or toxicity or mold, and they will bring it back to 100% with a vitality frequency machine, which no one else in this business is doing. This is just my friend's business, and he's like, I want to be the best. I want to give the best. He's been through, some serious alcoholism, suicidal, has had an incredible life, and is on the other side now and credits his being alive today through the mushrooms. So it's a huge motivational, it's a huge why, and it's something that our community is really behind. Another thing we do is we get an Indigenous elder from Alberta to bless each batch of the psilocybin that we give. And we have a state-of-the-art pill press that a lot of people that microdose, you might have had this experience. You might have one pill one day. It's supposed to be the same amount of psilocybin. And you're like, okay, great, my normal day. And you might have another pill, the same amount, supposed to be the same amount, but it's like way stronger. And that we find that happens a lot. They've got this, yeah, it's not cool if, like, say that day you have to give a presentation. Like, we've had some experiences where people share this with other companies. So he invested in really great pill press that ensures its consistency across the board. So no one has those days of like, oh crap, should I be driving? Like, it should be sub-perceptual unless you're trying to have a deeper experience. So I'm actually writing right now with an incredible shamanic practitioner, and she's actually told me she's not a shaman because she doesn't want to take away the cultural appropriation from the Tungun people in Siberia. That's their actual word for it. When in South America, it's Teta. There's hundreds for many different indigenous cultures, but I'm working with her to create this microdosing coaching certification program. So like a 12-week program that's really going to educate people that want to work with the medicine and help other people to train them how. Yeah, just learning some great stuff about that. So mindfulmeds.io or on Instagram, 3 Good Deeds a Day, and I can just I'm happy to answer questions about it. It's my passion. So reach out.
That's wonderful. Yeah. I'll make sure that I take some of your links and throw them in the show notes as well.
Cool. Thank you so much for your time, Lori. I really appreciate this.
Yeah,
And I
no,
know,
I always love our conversation.
yeah, and I know we'll connect again on another topic or another deep thinkers, anything, because it's awesome hanging out with you.
Well, thank you again. You take care and enjoy your travels. I can't wait to hear about all your different adventures.
Awesome. I'm sure we'll speak really soon.
We will. Take care.
Awesome. Thanks, Lori.